Hi, my name is Stan.
My name is Connie.
My name is Judy.
My name is Aileen, and I'm a caregiver to my mother.
And I care for my mother, Octavia.
And I'm a caregiver for my mother.
And I'm a caregiver to my husband, Art.
I'm a caregiver for my wife, Ann, who's 72 years old.
Basically, I've done everything for providing for both of them.
I take care of my mother on the weekends. I take her grocery shopping.
Not only household chores.
I provide her medical care, coordination, driving, errands.
Choosing meals, making meals, cleaning up.
I find that I take care of anything that he can't take care of.
Sometimes I find balancing time a real challenge.
The difficult part for me is taking me into consideration.
Balancing her needs with the needs of my family, the needs of my marriage, and my own needs.
Staying calm, nice, and positive.
The real challenge is, of course, the distance and the moment you get that last phone call.
What I love most about taking care of her is knowing that we're providing a secure and comfortable home for her.
It's the time we spend together.
Is the adventure of finding out new things all the time to trying to help him stay out of pain.
My name is Ed. I'm a spouse and I'm a caregiver.
My name is Colette. I'm a daughter and a caregiver.
I'm a caregiver, and I'm a daughter.
And I'm a wife and a caregiver.
I'm a daughter and a caregiver.
I'm a son, a nephew, and a caregiver.
Hi, my name is Deborah Day, and I help manage United Way Caregivers Coalition. While caring for a loved one has its special rewards, it's a very challenging job. It can be stressful, overwhelming, and sometimes lonely. Each caregiving situation is unique, but all caregivers share the need for information and support. And that's where the Caregivers Coalition comes in. We help caregivers receive the support they need to take care of their loved ones and to take care of themselves. Caregivers who lead healthy, productive lives will be better caregivers. The most important thing to remember is that as a caregiver, you're not alone.
So again, we're going to talk about keeping our homes safe and accessible as we age, as we decide to stay in our homes, as we might start having medical compromises that might create obstacles within the homes. And we're going to talk about all ways that we could reduce the chances of falling. So first we'll start off with some statistics which are mind-boggling. 2/3 of all falls are known to be preventable. 2/3 of those who experience a fall will fall again within 6 months. At least 1/3 of all falls with seniors involve environmental hazards in the home. More than 1 in 3 seniors over 65 fall each year, and 80% of senior falls occur in the bathroom. So what exactly causes the fall? The causes of falls are known as risk factors, and the greater number of risk factors to which a person is exposed obviously means the greater probability of having a fall. The good news is that most of these risk factors are preventable. So how do we go about preventing a fall? Well, there's an important equation that people don't realize. People tend to, as they get older or as they have a medical compromise, they tend to be fearful of falling. And what happens is that fear makes people decrease their activity. And that decreased activity causes further deconditioning. You decrease your strength, you decrease your endurance, you decrease your balance, and all those things lead to more falls. So the key point here is that even if you're fearful of falling, you should continue to move. You should continue to have activity. Do it safely, but you need to keep moving. So targeted balance and mobility exercises are most effective at reducing fall risk. Failure to exercise results in poor muscle tone, decreased strength, loss of bone mass, and decreased balance. So again, to prevent falls, be proactive. exercise, and also remove home hazards and install safety devices before you need them. So we're going to take a look around the house.
So we're here to talk about what to do in people's homes to end up staying there for as long as you can. The home isn't necessarily the place that you need to stay. Sometimes it is time to move. Sometimes skilled nursing or assisted living or a senior community is a better place. But if you want to stay in your own home, this is what we're here to talk to you about tonight, is ways that you could stay in your own home that you're living in now. And this is what a home looks like in northern New Jersey. We don't have a lot of ranches here. We've got a lot of houses that are sort of built vertically. There's a couple steps to get up into the front door. Once you get in the front door, the bathrooms are upstairs, the bedrooms are upstairs. Most of the things you need to go to are up another set of stairs. And then if you live in a townhouse, they're built so vertically. I was in a home today where there was 4 sets of stairs to get up to the bathroom. Anyway, so this is the kind of house that we're looking for in northern New Jersey to make able to accommodate where we want to live for as long as possible. So what do we need to do? We need to clean it up sometimes. Sometimes over years, we accumulate more and more stuff. It is. Anyway, so sometimes we've got to cut a pathway through all this stuff, and sometimes we just have to sit there and figure out, do we really need to keep all the stuff we have, or can we eliminate some so we don't trip over it? Especially, let's say, if there's a caregiver who's coming over to work with you, and they end up putting a laundry basket where you're not used to having it because there's other stuff everywhere else. You're not used to it there, and you trip over it. So it's really important to get some of this stuff out of the way.
The other tripping hazards that people tend to have is animals like dogs and cats. They can really cause a tripping hazard. Not that you shouldn't have a dog, but if you don't have one and you go to adult child's house, you really want to be careful of that. And also the dog toys and the kid toys, the infant toys or toddler toys all over, can be a big tripping hazard. So again, you don't want to be careful about those. Also, the electrical cords can be a big tripping hazard. And I know even my mom, she insisted on having a lamp in the middle of her living room, and there's a cord that goes by, and it's really scary, and I try so hard to get her to get that cord out of the way, but if you can, those cords create a lot of falls.
So stair rails, really important. So stair rails that were designed to work in people's houses, in the 1940s and the 1950s when everybody lived until they were 45 and 50 years old. Now we're living longer. We're getting older. We're actually living our life. Our lifespan is a lot longer, and we're living in our houses when maybe we go through a lot more events in our life that are making us a little bit weaker. So when we go to put stair rails in a house, maybe we should put a stair rail on both sides of the stair. Whether or not we've had a stroke or some weakness on one side, or we just need more to help our balance to have 2 stair rails. But the way that we recommend having stair rails in your house is to actually have the stair rail past the bottom step. Have it past the top step. So now you're not ditching that rail. When you get to the bottom, you're not leaving it behind you. It actually follows you until you're nice and safe at the bottom and so on the top. To return the rails into the wall at the bottom. So if you're going by with your pocketbook and it grabs into the corner of that rail, every time I walk past the stairs with my pocketbook, I get latched on and it pulls me right down. There's nothing wrong with me having that purse, by the way. Don't laugh at me. Anyway, so it doesn't have to be ugly. It doesn't have to be institutional. It can be, I look so much better in the dark, so this is perfect. Anyway, so if we can, if you have someone make rails for you, if they can stain it the same color, use the same type of wood, make it so that it's appealing and it looks like it was always there.
The other reason why a lot of people do need bilateral stair rails is if someone has a stroke, you usually have one-sided weakness. So you usually have one good arm, and you might have your good arm and a railing on that side. But on the other side, when you come down the stairs, you might not have a railing there. So a lot of times you need an additional rail so that you have them on both sides.
So whether the rails are iron or aluminum or wood or whatever they are, as long as they're soundly installed and they're graspable. Sometimes you might have a piece of big chunk of real decorative wood. Boy, it feels like a discotheque in here. So anyway, so basically, do I use that word anymore? I don't know. Anyway, so the rail that you want to be graspable. You don't want a big chunk of a tree to hold onto a rail. You want one that you can get your hand around. And what height should a rail be? Should we look at our computer and see what the American Disabilities Act said a rail should be? Or do we make it to whatever the people who are living in the house that are using it the most often need it? So if you're 5'1", you should have a rail that is sort of lower than someone who's going to be 6 feet tall. And you sort of want to look at these things to say what your body is like and what your needs are to outfit your own home. So this is a house where there's a man, he's got Parkinson's disease. So Parkinson's throws your balance off. It's something where you have trouble initiating your motion, and then once you get moving, you start going really fast and you lose your balance. So this guy is living with his daughter in her home, and there's no rails on the front steps. I went out there at night one time, and it was dark, and they were looking for rails. So we talked about different rails that he needed, but they couldn't decide. Did they want it in brown? Did they want it in black? Did they want it in white? So I went on my merry way, and I thought I'd never hear from them again. 2 weeks later, from the hospital emergency room, I met with. They called me and said, "Greg, even if they're purple with pink polka dots, I want those rails out there." So the next day, put this rail here on the porch, put rails on either side here, and about 10 different grab bars in there. And we were at another coalition meeting. I forget what county. I think Morris County coalition meeting. And we heard a big scream from the back, "That's my house." And it was actually a caregiver. She still lives. Her father's still living with her. And she said, it's been about 8 years and her father hasn't had any more falls. He just needed something to hold on to. And that brings me back to a question where maybe you're going to meet with other family members and say, "You know what? Mom needs a ramp. Mom needs a ramp so that she can get in and out of the house." And so we're going to call a ramp salesman. A ramp salesman is going to sell you a ramp. A lift salesman is going to sell you a lift. But maybe you need to speak to your family members' caregivers and find out, you know what? Can she walk? Because if she can walk and all she needs is something to hold on to, if you put her in a wheelchair and you roll her up a ramp all the time, she's going to lose all her strength. She's going to lose all her ability to keep herself vital and independent, and that's when she's going to get sicker. So maybe she just needs a rail, and we need to evaluate her whole self, not just stick her in a wheelchair and roll her up and down. So this is... a lot of senior communities, even though they're ADA compliant and everything, or they're more senior oriented, they always have these little steps that are coming up here. So you still want a nice rail. This one actually folds up out of the way. We have this one. This is actually made out of iron, and it goes right up against the wall here, so that as you go down the steps, your hand slides along the rail like this. Otherwise, if you just put a grab bar up on the wall as you go down, your arm is back over like that. And when you get to my age, your shoulder doesn't go up like that so well anymore. So anyway. So a lot of times what people can do steps. They might not read ramps, they can do steps, but what ties them up is when they get to a doorway. So this person, their daughter called and said, "Listen, we need a ramp. Mom can't go up the steps anymore." We said, "Well, Mom can go up the steps. She just can't get through the door because the rails stop at the door." Now she's grabbing the doorknob. She's putting her hands in the door jamb and all over the place, trying to pull herself up. So the real answer to this is to put a platform in front of that door. So you've got steps to get up to. You've got graspable rails to hold on to. And then once you're up to this flat platform, you could just walk straight into that door. That solves that problem without having to get into a wheelchair and being pushed up a ramp. You want to talk? She wants me to talk. Okay, so lighting. Lighting is really important. When they build houses now, lighting is everywhere. Electric is everywhere, and the lights are all on sconces, and they're above, overhead. You go to a house that was designed in the 1920s and 30s and 40s. There's little lamps, and they're plugged into individual light, receptacles. And you've got to cross a dark room to turn the little knobs on that lamp. And as you get older, and you're more sensitive to the lack of light, and your hands aren't working as well on those tiny little knobs, you tend not to put the lights on as much. So maybe just something as easy as a couple of night lights from Walmart for $3 put everywhere around the house that they go on automatically when it starts to get dark. It helps. Or motion sensors in the bathrooms and the common areas of the house. As you walk through, the lights go on. As you leave, the lights turn off, and it works out well. Yeah, so her question is motion sensor activated night lights. Yes, there are, but that's not what I'm talking about. This is actually a sensor in here that senses whether or not it's dark. So as it gets dark, these turn on. They burn like 3 watts. It's like almost no power at all. But they have enough light that you're going to tell if something's in your path. So it's not really motion, it's just darkness activated.
But they do put motion sensor lights in as well. My father-in-law, Greg's dad, actually fell down our stairs into our garage one Thanksgiving, And he actually used to live in the house, so he should have been used to it. But anyway, he broke his hip, and ever since that day, we put sensor lights in our garage. So as soon as we open the door, the lights go on. So that works out really well. One of the biggest hazards in homes are these shower doors. These shower glass doors, you know, sometimes they're in stall showers, sometimes they're in bathtubs. But people hold on to the towel rod on that glass door, and they think it's a grab bar, and it is not. It's not made to support weight. A lot of falls occur from that. The other thing with the shower doors is if you had some type of medical condition where you now need assistance to get in and out of the tub, those doors over the tub or in the shower aren't wide enough usually for two people to go in and out of. Also, if you have a knee injury where you really can't bend your knee very well, it also doesn't give you a lot of room to get in and out of that tub. So a lot of times you could have the glass doors temporarily or permanently removed and then put up a shower curtain rod and rings, then you have as much room as you want, and you could always put those shower doors back on. But that usually works out really well. Right, right. Yeah, grab bar shouldn't be on that glass, no. So that is also not a grab bar. These are broken in so many homes that we go to, and this is where a lot of falls occur, and that's also not a grab bar. Although a lot of companies now, I don't know if we have, yeah. A lot of companies now are starting to have other types of grab bars. The manufacturers are really starting to understand people are getting older, people are falling in bathrooms, and they could really make grab bars more appealing. So this is a type of grab bar that we have that you can use. Also, there's sometimes shelves that are grab bars. You just want to make sure it's made to be a grab bar.
So let's talk about grab bars. This is a typical grab bar. Basically what it is, it's made out of stainless steel, so it's never going to rust. It's got 9 holes on this side and 9 holes on this side. It gives us a better chance of being able to screw it into something substantial in the wall, like a stud or something that's going to hold that grab bar in place. You need to have the right size grab bars so that if your studs are 16 inches apart or 32 inches apart or 24 inches, that you've got the right size. So you're not trying to accommodate which changing where it goes based on the stud, that you just bring the right grab bar in to have it. So what we like to do is use these grab bars that have a rough texture on them. So especially in the wet areas, the area where your hand's going to be wet and soapy, it's got a rough texture to it, so it's less slippery. Am I missing anything about this? What we try to do is when we install grab bars vertically, we like to go on the shorter side so that as your hand slips down for any reason down the bar, it stops at the bottom. If this was longer, my hand wouldn't stop until I got lower. And then the horizontal bars, we can make the longer ones. This here is a couple of bars that you can put up on a wall where there is no wall to mount a grab bar. There's always different products out there that they're coming up with every day. And you probably see them in your catalogs, websites, even Lowe's, Home Depot. But these kind of bars you can put on the wall here. And this lady actually takes her shower curtain, flips it over to the other side, and uses that in the shower when she's in the shower. So it's like a dual purpose. So again, here, a vertical short grab bar, a horizontal longer grab bar, a handheld shower, and if they need a tub transfer bench to get over this tub, just a way that for most people, if they're having a little trouble getting in and out of their tub, in and out of their shower, these standard setups usually work for most people to help out. I should keep going. So this is what's called a security pole. Another thing, in places where there is no wall to fasten a grab bar to, we put them by beds, we put them by toilets, we put them near showers. I actually use this as a bed rail more than I use any bed rails because this can go next to your bed and you could stand up and you're still holding it even if you're standing. And it's not relying on the weight of your mattress to be holding it into place. And this little blue, white thing pulls out and it can rotate and lock into different sections if you want to. It's called a security pole, and this is held on by tension, so you can actually move it from one place to another. And if you're worried about how strong it's going to be, we can actually shoot a couple screws to the top and the bottom as well. This is your part.
So, wearing the right shoes is very important. You got to remember, if they can slip off, they are a fall hazard. Floppy slippers, high heels, and shoes with extra thick or slippery soles can make you slip, stumble, and fall. And you want to choose lace-up shoes instead of slip-ons or Velcro shoes. So one of the biggest obstacles in people's homes as they're aging or as they've had medical issues are the stairs. You know, we really like when people who are living in their homes can go up to their main bedroom and bathroom. That's usually where they're most comfortable. Everyone's idea first is to, oh, we have to get a hospital bed in the living room or bring them downstairs. And people really want to be up in their bedroom. So if it's at all possible, it's much better to get them up there. So this is a straight stair lift. It's for a straight set of stairs. These types of stair lifts are rented by companies, they're purchased by companies because they're very easy to go in when it's a straight set of stairs. You plug them into a regular outlet, but the electrical current actually trickle charges a battery so that it uses a battery when you're using it so that if the power goes out, you still have use of the stair lift. And the foot plate, the seat, the armrest, they all flip up out of the way so that there's more room when other people are using the stairs. And then when you get to the top of the stairs, the seat swivels so that your back is facing the stairs when you're doing your sit to stand transfer. So they really come in really handy. So sometimes people don't have a straight set of stairs, so they have something called a custom curved stair lift. Custom curved stair lifts, you get on the chair all the way at the bottom of the stairs, and it brings you up the first set of stairs, wraps around your platform, goes all the way up to the top of the stairs. So it's really nice. You get on one seat and you get all the way to the top. The bad part is they're made specifically for your house, so they cannot be rented, and they are quite costly, although they're not as expensive as moving. Even the moving fee alone would be more expensive than getting something like this. So that, and the other option you have as well, if you don't want to invest in a custom curved stair lift, is you could always put a straight stair lift on the bottom set of stairs and another one on the top set of stairs. It's a little obnoxious because you have to get off one and get onto and walk across the platform and get onto the other. But there's not that many times a day that you really have to go up and down the stairs, and it usually saves you a lot of money if you do it that way if you want to. And then you have the rental option.
My turn. So ramps, sometimes a ramp is the way to go. Sometimes the transfers are so difficult to be able to get out of a car, into a wheelchair, over to the stairs, up and down the stairs. And now, being that it's so difficult to do that, then you end up not leaving the house. You end up not going out for dinner at the diner. If I couldn't have dinner at the diner, I would starve. Yeah, I love her, but she can't cook to save her life. Anyway. I said that on TV, didn't I? Anyway, so just to get out into the world, sometimes it is better to get in the wheelchair and get outside. So we have to sort of make some judgments in our life, what we're going to give up and what we're going to, just cheat a little bit to give ourselves some quality of life. So this is a typical ramp for, believe it or not, 3 steps. The general rule is 1 foot of ramp for every inch of rise. So let's do some math here. Average step is about 8 inches high. 3 steps, 24 inches high. That's 24 feet of ramp. So this is what a 24-foot ramp looks like. Not that pretty. It's got rails on both sides of it, so when you're walking on it, you can hold on both sides. It's corrugated so that when it's wet and it's slippery, it's something that you can that you won't trip on as often. This particular ramp is called a modular ramp, so you can rent it. You don't have to get permits from your town. You can. It's not permanent. Okay, if it was a permanent ramp made out of wood or masonry, then you'd have to dig footings and you'd have to get permits from the town. So this can get thrown out there. It can be rented for that time when you're maybe fell, had a fracture, you're non-weight bearing for 3, 6, 8, 10 weeks, and then it can be taken up and removed. This is a portable ramp. So portable ramps don't have rails on them. Very often, they're not going to be long enough to accommodate stairs. So you're going to need somebody who's rather significantly strong to push someone up and down this ramp. And this is a caregiver meeting, so I don't really have to tell you that the caregiver really is the most important part when we're talking about ramps. The person sitting in the wheelchair is just sitting there and going for the ride for the most part. If the caregiver gets hurt pushing, we're all in trouble. We really need to look out for your backs and that sort of thing. So when we're looking at the steepness of a ramp or the lack of rails, it's you that we're looking at for safety.
In terms, the PT in me is coming out. In terms of lifting, like Greg said, it's so important that you don't hurt your backs. So you want to just remember a few things, which most people do know, but you always want to bend your knees when you're doing any lifting. If you if you're lifting somebody or something, you always want to keep whatever you're lifting close to you, because this is when you hurt yourself, when you're lifting something and you're farther away. Also, you want to avoid lifting and twisting at the same time. What you want to do is lift with your legs, because your legs are really strong muscles as opposed to your back. Your back muscles aren't very big or very strong. And then you want to actually move your feet rather than twisting your back. That's how people end up getting disc problems and other injuries. And also, I'll show you later, but also when you go to reach for something, you want to make sure that you're getting up on a stool or something very supportive rather than reaching up or reaching too far on a stool and then causing an injury that way. One other thing is that when you're going up and down the stairs and you're helping the person you're caring for, if they're struggling with the stairs, you want to make sure that you're straddling two stairs as they're going up, and you want it so that you have a better base of support rather than having both your feet on the same stair. You also want to, if you can, hold on to them. And then when they're coming down, it's really great if you could hold on to one shoulder and one in their hip at the same time. And what you always want to be lower on the stairs than them. So if they're going up the stairs, you want to be behind them, holding them at the waist. And you want to see if you could have them move and then you move, and then they move and then you move. And then coming down, again, you want to be lower on the step because you don't want them to fall down the stairs. And that's when you have one hand at one shoulder and one hand at their waist.
Moral of the story is don't hold a microphone when you're trying to go up and down the steps, because I lost her on that one. All right, so if you want a permanent ramp, that's fine. A sidewalk, masonry, concrete, bricks, bluestone, whatever you wanted, blacktop. It doesn't matter the material as long as it's smooth, debris-free, and not slippery. But what we recommend to do is to bring it all the way to the door. So if you go back to your homes tonight, you're going to walk out your front door and you're going to step down 3, 4, 6, 8 inches down to your front porch. If we can make the front porches go all the way to the door, whether it's a rolling walker or a wheelchair or just walking through, it's going to be so much safer to come on through that.
So that was this picture Greg showed you was another option. Rather than doing a ramp where those stairs are, they actually re-landscaped, regraded the whole property so that there's a walkway now to get right to the front door. So that's another option. This is called a seat lift chair. So a lot of people have trouble standing up from a chair. And as therapists, we used to say, oh, you shouldn't get those because you have to use your muscles and you should really be using them and you'll get too used to being in the chair and you'll sleep in the chair. But then we started going into people's homes and we realized that there's caregivers there who are helping to lift their loved ones out of the chairs, and they're at risk of injuring themselves, and they're important too. So we really do enjoy having people use these chairs now. What it is a regular lazy boy recliner where the back goes down and the legs go up. However, then there's an opposite setting, and it actually slowly lifts you up into an almost standing position. And what's really nice about it is, at least it's one spot during the day where the caregiver doesn't have to work as hard with the transfers. But it's also a time where the person who does have trouble getting up gives them a little more independence and makes them feel a little better, that they could stand up to their walker with less assistance. So we really like these. They do come two ways. One is with one motor and one is with two motors. If you have one motor, it just means the back and the legs move together, so as the back goes down, the legs go up. If it has two motors, they work independently, so you could be sitting up with your legs up, or you could lie all the way down. But those are all about seat lift chairs. You're the toilet guy.
I love toilets. Anyway, so everyone who comes home from hospitalization with a total hip replacement, total knee replacement, stroke, whatever it is, they come home from the hospital or from rehab, and they've got these commodes that stick over the toilet, 3-in-1 commode. He's shaking his head. He loves these commodes. So you've got this big giant hole for your toilet, for your elongated toilet, but then your commode has this tiny little one that your equipment doesn't fit into. And your hand doesn't reach around to be able to wipe your equipment when your equipment is dirty. And it's just ugly. So what happens is people take this and they move it into the garage. They're admitted to the hospital 3 times. They've got 3 commodes in their garage, and they're still sitting down on this toilet that's only 15 inches high. So we try to figure out an alternative to the commode. The commode is good because it's free from Medicare. So that's a good thing about it. And it's got arms on both sides, so that's good too. So this is a standard height toilet with a toilet seat riser. We've gotten 3.5 inches higher now. If we went to CVS and we bought a toilet seat riser that's just stuck on the toilet, or one of those ones with the big blue knob at the front that cranked and cranked and cranked until it works its way right up off the toilet and falls off, that's not good. So we go with so we recommend you get ones that screw into the same spot that a toilet seat screws into the back there, and that's a good way for elevating a toilet. The other way we can do it is we can put a platform underneath the toilet. It's called a toilevator. So we take the toilet off, we put this platform under, we extend the drain up. If we don't extend that drain, it makes a really lousy mess. So we extend it up, and we have that platform, and we can bring it up, and we can control how high we bring the toilet from underneath. That leaves the toilet being around the same. A better way to do this, but more expensive, is a right height toilet. A toilet that happens to be higher on its own. So there's about 2.5 inches higher, and it makes a significant difference. And those are called right height, comfort height, ADA height. There's all different. Every manufacturer has different names for it. So pay attention. This next thing is the best thing ever. So you've all seen these things that the French had called a bidet, right? It was a separate toilet that was next to another toilet, right? And that was made for cleaning your feet, I think. So anyway, so you had to get off the toilet, get over to the other toilet, and then do your thing. So it made it very difficult, and really not a whole lot of people used them for that reason. But the Japanese, they figured it out. They said, let's keep it with the same toilet, no different toilet, and we take what's something called a washlet. It's a bidet that sits on top of your existing toilet that tees off of your plumbing, okay? And get this, okay? It washes your butt. It washes you in front. It blows you dry. It's a heated seat. It's heated water. It has a nightlight. This thing rocks. So we actually have one in our house. We're not supposed to admit that we have it. And my son just went off to college. He doesn't miss us, but he misses his bidet. Yeah. So we joke about this, and this is something that, you know what, it's something that we smile about, say, wouldn't it be cool if we had it? Wouldn't it be neat? But let's think about how about our, our family members as they got older, especially women who started getting urinary tract infections, got sent to the hospital. They thought they were having Alzheimer's, that Alzheimer's just set in, but it's really that they had urinary tract infections because they didn't have the dexterity or the range of motion or the cognition to wipe themselves as much as they used to. They didn't have access to the shower as much. Maybe they're waiting for someone to help come 3 days a week to give them a shower, and they're not getting clean there as often. Let's say another scenario. Let's say I'm having difficulty wiping myself, and I move in with my daughter. Okay, it's great to be living with my daughter and my grandkids. I don't have grandkids yet, but anyway, that would be great to move there. But if I can't wipe myself, it makes it very uncomfortable for me and her. So this solves that. I'll keep talking about this, so she's about to wink at me and say, Greg, enough. But it tees off of the existing plumbing, so you don't need a plumber. It's just that you need an electrical outlet in the area. And this will make it so that someone might be able to stay home that wouldn't be able to. We got a thumbs up. Showers. So if, a lot of houses have bathtubs, and a lot of people are going to say, you know what, I really can't remove the bathtub in my house because my realtor says that I'm never going to be able, it's illegal to have a house without a bathtub. That's not true at all. Possibly that when you go to sell your house, that a family with small children would be less likely to buy your house, possibly. But it's not illegal to not have a bathtub. And as long as you're living there, if it's going to make you shower more safely and prevent you from falling and bumping your head, it might be the way to go. So you can take the bathtub out. You can put a liner in like that. Or you can do the whole shower. This particular shower is what's called Best Bath. So it's actually a plywood wrapped in fiberglass with a gel coat on the front. And what's good about this is it takes less time to be able to do the shower, so you don't have contractors muddying up your house for more time. Plus, there's no grout. There's no caulk. As we get older, we tend to spend less time cleaning our grout and changing our caulk, and we develop leaks and cracks. This is maintenance-free, which helps a lot. I'm sorry, yes? This is called Best Bath, but this is just the product that's made. Basically, the whole point of it is to reduce the step up into the shower, create a pitch down into the drain, and make it so that the shower is maintenance-free. And the easier it is to shower, the more comfortable it is to shower, the more you're going to shower. And plus, showering feels good. So if we're only showering or getting washed up, maybe we don't feel as good as if we had a nice, refreshing shower. You want to talk?
So that's one way to do it with that Best Bath system. And those are so much better than if you went to Home Depot or Lowe's and you got one of those inexpensive shower inserts. First of all, when you put those in, there's usually a big space between the studs and the wall, so you can't put grab bars in very easily. And they're just, this system works out just so much better. So another option is just to do a whole retiling, taking out the tub, or a stall shower with a lip in it, and create a no threshold shower. We like to do the tile on the floor with very small tiles, and that's because when you have small tiles, you have a lot of grout, and when you have a lot of grout, it's less slippery. So we like to do it that way. You could also put in a wall-hung sink, so you could, if someone's in a wheelchair, they could roll under it. You always want to make sure that there's covering over the piping so that you don't get burn your knees on the hot water and you don't clunk your knees on that. And then again, this one shows how usually you could put a short vertical one grab bar in as you enter, and a long horizontal one against the far wall. And then there's a handheld shower head.
3 kids, a wife, all tend to use the same shower in our house. We have others, but they all use the same shower. And everyone needs their own kind of shampoo products, their own products for their hair. I don't get it. Shampoo, conditioners, hand soap, that's all you really need. But our shower's full of bottles. So you knock one bottle down, guess what happens to the others? They all domino effect. Exactly. They all fall down on the floor, and before you know it, grandma's down on the floor on her hands and knees picking up all these bottles. So it's not going to work in my house. I've tried as much as I can to eliminate these bottles. It's not going to happen. I sort of gave up. Obviously, I haven't given up. I'm here talking to you about it today. But what I really recommend to people is to have these things, Bed Bath & Beyond, Home Depot, whatever, they stick right up on the shower wall. We've got shampoo, we've got conditioner, we've got liquid soap. We're done. No more bottles. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. As much as we like to go into people's houses and tell them that maybe different furniture would be good, you try to tell someone who's been living in this house for 50 years, they've got their mother's furniture in their living room, and this furniture is never going to leave their house. This is their home, and who am I to tell them which furniture they need to have in their house, right? So we can take their furniture that they already have and adapt it. These things are called couch canes. They actually fit to your very furniture. Let me see here. This is actually chairs that we were able to flip over, take the legs off of them, make legs over here that brings the person to the exact height they need to be. This lady was great because she loved it so much. She was so happy to be able to keep her furniture that we went to Burger King and got a crown to put on her head, and we called. She sat on her throne. She was really psyched. So the best thing is to be able to limit the changes you have in someone's environment while keeping it safe. And that's the creative thing that we try to do, is to try to keep it looking like their house, but yet safer. Gates. So, you know, a lot of times people that have trouble, they wander a little bit at night. Maybe they have to walk past a stairway as they get to the bathroom at night. You know, you'll go to I don't know, Babies R Us and Toys R Us, and you'll get baby gates. Well, you know what? Those baby gates, they're made for babies, right? So you really need something that's made for someone who's 150, 200, 250 pounds, not somebody who is 20 pounds. You need it to be nice and solid. You need it to be self-locking, self-closing, so someone doesn't forget to close it. It needs to be able to withstand that weight, and maybe something that's always going to be there for them as they're walking past that step that they can actually hold on to and rely on instead of falling. As well as, you know, there's a condition, a lot of people who have strokes that affect their left side, they completely forget about that side. It's called a neglect. And a lot of times we'll be walking down the stairs, they won't even realize the stairs are there. This helps with that too. And they also actually will go with whatever the railing's made out of. This is yours.
So people sometimes have to come home from the hospital with a hospital bed, or they're just getting older and they need a hospital bed. They need that ability to go high and low, and they need the head of the bed to go up and down and the legs to go up and down. And that's fine to use a hospital bed. Hospital beds quite often are covered by Medicare, and it works out fine. But the problem is sometimes people still want to sleep with their spouses, and hospital beds come in twin size and they come in bariatric size, and that's it. So it's very difficult to and bariatric. If you're very heavy, you would get a bariatric sized hospital bed. So we found a manufacturer called FlexiBed, and what it is, it's an adjustable bed. So they have a high-low model where the whole bed raises and lowers up and down, as well as the head of the bed going up and down and the legs go up and down. But the difference is this bed comes in all the sizes: twin, full, queen. The king is just two twins next to each other. But it also offers an inner spring mattress as opposed to a inexpensive, cheap foam that the hospital beds are. So they're a lot more comfortable. They're not covered by Medicare, but they're another option if you choose to do something other than a hospital bed. The other thing is, if you went with a regular, like Craftomatic bed or Tempur-Pedic bed that can do those, that has the versatile of the head moving and the legs moving. Most of those you cannot put a side rail on in case you ever need a side rail. And this manufacturer offers a side rail option with them. So those seem to work out really well. This is another big fall hazard in people's homes, is the saddles between the doors. So a lot of times it's great to have a carpenter take out those saddles and just put a piece of oak there so that there's no threshold change between one room and the other. This is dangerous with wheelchairs. As you're going through the wheelchair stops short, and also with a rolling walker. Also, a lot of times you'll stop short when you hit that saddle. This is a vertical platform lift. So we talked about stair lifts before, and stair lifts are a really great option. Sometimes people cannot transfer from a wheelchair to a stair lift and then off the stair lift. And sometimes people are in power chairs, and power chairs are very heavy. So even if someone could get onto that stair lift, it would be very difficult to just carry that power chair up the stairs. So this is another option. It's like an elevator. What you would do is you would roll into the onto the platform with your wheelchair, and then this ramp pops up so you're closed in, and then it lifts up to the elevation of either your deck or whatever platforms in your garage, and then this door opens and you roll out and then go right through the doorway. So it's a great way to get you up to the main level of your house, but without moving out of your wheelchair.
What does the carpenter do after he takes out the saddle?
So what she's asking is, when you take out that saddle, you're left with a gap. So what does a carpenter do with that? Well, what happens is, if you take a piece of oak, you can bevel that with an electric planer, so that you can put it on an angle, so that, because usually the tile floor is higher than where the carpeting is, or the hardwood floor is in the bedroom, so it becomes beveled with a planer, so that there's no short stop and rise and fall. Good question. This is the new iPhone 10, if you guys have been looking on. So if you look over here, this is the new iPhone 10 for $1,000. You can have this phone.
So emergency communication is very important. You want to use a portable phone that you can take with you, or use a lifeline pendant around your wrist or neck. So there's a lot of companies out there that have the pendants. They're wonderful, because if you were to need somebody and you live alone especially, it's a great way to call someone for an emergency. I found, again through my mother, I didn't know about this, but some alarm systems, especially in these 55 and over communities, some alarm systems have an option where, like, I don't know, it was like $300. I was able to purchase a pendant, a one-time fee, and it automatically worked so that if she needs anything, she could just press that pendant. I know a lot of the companies, they can be a little costly, or like $40 a month or so. So this was a less expensive option to just buy for a one-time fee to do that. But my mom lives in Monroe Township. I don't know the name of her. It was the alarm system that the community used. I don't remember the name of it. It was a couple years ago, but definitely check if you have an alarm system, see if they have that option. So this is a handy bar. You could buy them on Amazon for like $30. It really helps you get out of the car. So every car has this latch, and what you do is you keep this in, I don't know, it used to be called a map pocket, but now people don't have maps, so I don't know what it's called, in your car, and you take it out when you're getting out of the car. And what's really unsafe is when people hold on to those doors, because the doors are wobbly, and you never want to stand up, no matter where you are. If you're inside the house, outside the house, if you're going to stand up, you want to always stand up pushing or pulling on a solid surface. So these little bars, they stick right into this latch, and you could really push really hard on it. It stays still while you get up out of the car. It's also multifunctional. If you end up in a lake, it breaks the window, and it also cuts your seatbelt. So it's very good.
A lot of lakes we drive in.
Actually, I always said that, and then his cousin actually was in this little Mini Cooper. And she was in the Hamptons, and her car got stuck in one of these these puddles that ended up encompassing the car. So don't laugh at me. Throw rugs, very dangerous, the throw rugs. You want to try to tack them down somehow, whether it's with double-sided tape. The best thing is to actually remove them. They get caught on the walkers very easily, or on people's feet. So if you have to have them, just make sure they're taped down. Make sure they're not starting to roll. The big thing is to try to avoid a fall. And that's one thing that we talked about grab bars before, but the best thing to do is really to be proactive and to see all these hazards that could happen, and try to do whatever you can to decrease the amount of chances of you falling. A lot of people wait to fall in the shower, especially before they go and get grab bars. And what we all know is what happens is someone falls, they end up breaking a hip, they end up in the hospital, they end up having surgery, then they get an infection, and it's just this downward spiral. So you really want to try to be as proactive as you can. This again just talks about making sure that you're not reaching up on a stool and reaching far and increasing your chance of falling. Medications. Medication is really important. Obviously, you want to take your medications, But periodically, you want to review your medication with your physician from a fall prevention perspective, which isn't what a lot of people do. Antidepressants, sedatives, blood pressure medication drugs can all contribute to falls by altering balance, decreasing mental alertness, and causing drops in blood pressure when going from sitting to standing. If you take more than 4 medications, you have a higher risk of falling. Know the common side effects of all the medications you are taking, and then obviously be aware of them. Talk with your physician or pharmacist about ways to reduce the side effects of your medications, and just make sure that you are following all the instructions carefully. Vision is something also to keep in mind. Age-related vision disease can increase the risk of falling. Cataracts and glaucoma alter a person's depth perception, peripheral vision, and susceptibility to glare. This can impair your ability to safely walk around your home. Obviously, wear glasses if needed and clean your glasses regularly. Impaired visions can be corrected with glasses. However, quite often glasses are bifocals, so that when the person looks down through the lower half of the glasses, the depth perception is altered. And to prevent this practice, when you're going down the stairs, make sure you're looking straight ahead and not down, because it's going to alter your depth perception and you can trip on the stairs. If you have visual defects, you want to add contrasting color or reflective strips to first and last steps. And there's also, we are far from it, but there's also people who actually specialize in low vision. So if you do know someone who has visual issues, see if your optometrist knows of a low vision specialist or one of the therapy departments in your area, because they can be quite helpful. One other thing you want to keep in mind also is if you're doing any renovations to your home, try to think in terms of universal design. That means that even if someone does get more impaired in their abilities and ends up in a wheelchair, that you're thinking ahead for those things. So things to keep in mind are to widen the doorways. Make sure if you're building a room, make sure those doorways are very wide. Make sure the hallways are wider. Make sure your bathrooms have no threshold to get into that shower. You want to keep all those things in mind, as well as getting in and out of the house if you're altering that as well. Or if you're moving as well, you want to make sure you're moving to an environment that if someone's physical abilities are decreased, that they'll be able to still live there. Yeah, are there any questions? One thing we didn't discuss at all is funding these type of modifications that people have, that people want to have done. So the VA in New Jersey is amazing to their veterans. If you know any veterans, make sure, even if they're as healthy as can be, but if they were in the certain wars that they require, tell them to go into the system. They could still see their doctor regularly, their regular doctor, but they need to see the VA team, which consists of like the doctor, the nurse, and some other healthcare professionals. It's either once or twice a year, and get into that system, because one day they might need a ramp, a stair lift, a vertical platform lift, and they do this all for their veterans. Yes? Yes, so I was talking about funding. So Medicare does not cover home modifications. Medicaid can. There's a special program if you are in the Medicaid system called the MLTSS program. And that program, if you're in it, you could qualify for some of the home modifications. The other ways to get home modifications covered is through long-term care insurance. Not every insurance plan, but most long-term care insurances do have some type of home modification rider on it. And then, which isn't really probably your situations, but if it's an auto insurance issue or a workers' compensation issue, those insurances, especially if someone's already in a hospital and needs to be discharged home, the insurance companies can authorize those home modifications to be done prior to discharge.
Yeah, so that's where the higher it is, the bigger the piece of oak that you got to put down on that floor to be able to make it a gradual bevel to it. But so you want to accommodate both heights. Unfortunately, what happens is sometimes on older bathrooms, what they did was they took more, instead of ripping up a tile floor when they retiled, they put another layer on top and it builds it. So instead of having a 6-inch saddle, you might put a 12-inch piece of oak and and bevel it down so it's like a ramp.
And that will be beveled down on all sides?
Exactly. Yeah, it would work out better for that. And sometimes, you know, you think that the stall shower is the safest one, but you get to a certain part where sometimes the bathtub is actually the safer one if you use something called the tub transfer bench, something that straddles the tub, that you can sit down on the seat and then swing your feet over when you're sitting and slide across. So it's good to meet with, you know, an occupational or a physical therapist who sees the home and goes through it for a couple sessions a year. We love shower curtains from a caregiver's perspective. One thing is there's going to be a lot more room to help the person in and out, and then that person isn't depending on that door to hold them up. Great question. So here's a solution. There's a couple solutions to that. Swing the door out of the bathroom, and that's good for two reasons. One, if he does fall in the bathroom in front of the door, you can't get to him because the door opens into that way. So swing the door out, or what we've been doing is look up, when you get home, Google barn door. And this barn door is a way of making, you know what a pocket door is? You guys have seen pocket doors? But pocket doors require a lot of construction. So a barn door is a piece of hardware that you can put on that makes the door slide back and forth in front of the opening, and that allows for the door not to be in the way.
Right. Yeah, suitcase ramps are portable ramps, as long as it's not too many stairs. And again, they don't have railings, so you have to, or a big lip, so you have to be careful of them. But suitcase ramps are convenient, especially when you want to get, if your curb's in the way, if you know.
Heavy though?
They're kind of light. They're aluminum, depending on the length. Like if you get a 10-footer, they're like 60 pounds and they're awkward. But if you get a 4-footer, it's like 15 pounds.
I have one like this and it is heavy as anything.
And they're awkward because they're sort of spinning. They're a little awkward.
Yeah, I fold it in half.
Another important thing to remember too, when we were talking about all these different devices and grab bars and everything, is just make sure whoever is installing these understands disability and understands the person's issues, because so often a carpenter will put a grab bar on your right side of the toilet and with someone who has right-sided weakness, that kind of thing. Or you might have a neighbor just throw in a grab bar, but they might not really be skilled to get that in properly. So you just want to make sure whoever you are using really has a skill and understands what the person needs.
I'm going to go back to saying that there's a lot of therapists that he might qualify to see someone to ask that question to. However, there are some things that would help inexpensively. If you go and you get yourself a boat cushion, it's a piece of very thick foam cushion that doesn't crush down when you sit on it. It's very light. Throw it in the chair. Now he's not as low. You can get something called a gait belt very inexpensively. It's just a belt that has lots of loops on it that allows you that you're going to be able to pull up. And there is also something, what's it called? This chair that sits down and you push the button and it rises. Up and down, I don't know. It's not that great. But I think the boat cushion would really help about a 3-inch rise, and it won't crush when he's like, if you go to Lowe's and buy outdoor, seat cushion, it's just going to crush down. It's just foam. So try that. That might help. Yeah.
Talking about having difficulty getting up, what we've been hearing a lot of lately is people who are transferred by their caregiver, whether it's spouse or adult child who lives with them, and they transfer them into the wheelchair in the morning, and they're very comfortably able to take care of themselves in their wheelchair throughout the day while their loved one goes off to work. The only problem that a lot of them have is getting on and off the toilet. And 2 manufacturers actually just came out with these new devices. They're basically the same thing. One just looks nicer than the other. But it's like a seat lift chair, but it goes over the toilet, and it actually helps you raise up off a toilet just like you would off a seat lift chair. So those are really great. And the other thing what you talked about is, your daughter keeping strong. It's so important that whoever's going through any type of medical disease process, that they try to keep as flexible and as strong as possible, especially like people with Parkinson's. People with Parkinson's get very rigid, and their muscles tighten up, and then they get weaker and weaker and weaker. So having therapy, it doesn't have to be all the time, but having physical therapists or occupational therapists coming in routinely really helps helps them decline at a slower pace. So it was really interesting. I just went to a presentation the other day, and I never thought about it. And they said that, instead of you could use a pendant, but they said you could have Alexa call, if you had an emergency, you could say, hey, Alexa, call 911 or call my daughter or whatever. So it's really interesting. I've never thought about that. I thought that was a great way to use technology in emergencies.
Well, if you look underneath it, they all come nowadays with a 9-volt battery, which is not that powerful. It's enough to just get it back up again. And to tell you the truth, the only time we ever see these getting stuck, we haven't seen a motor break and have it get stuck. I'll tell you about the older models, maybe, but the latest we've ever seen that happen, this one woman, it's happened to her a couple of times. She has lots of blankets, and she drapes the blankets down, and it gets caught up in the chair. But otherwise, they really are very reliable these days. There's a couple good manufacturers that make really good ones.
You know what, the Velcro, I could totally understand where you're coming from, and the Velcro is very adequate. You just have to make sure that they're strong as you use the Velcro.
So he doesn't slip out of them.
It stops getting as, it starts
It also
shredding.
sometimes gets clogged with fibers, so it doesn't engage.
But as long as they're good, and I'm sure you could also probably take them to a shoe person and have them replace the Velcro if that's the case.
So it depends on the car, because back seats are actually, a lot of times it's kind of stretched out a little bit more or a little bit more compact depending on your car. So I can't tell you if it's going to work for them, but the passenger front seat is usually where that works the best. But it does work. You can't lift up on it. You can only push down. The harder you push down, the tighter it gets. The second you pull up on it, it weakens.
Thank you so much.